All right, so this begins some camera training. I find that it is very important to get some camera training in for students because a lot of times they'll make really cool things, but they don't know how to take pictures of it. So we're going to go cover some of that stuff. So we're going to be using Nikon cameras to do some product photography, and we're also going to be doing a gateway assignment, which I call Shutter. Okay, so Shutter doesn't really have anything to do with product photography. It just allows students to kind of ask questions about shutter speed. Okay, and the reason I want that is because students are shaky. I mean, they take the camera and they're like that, and they don't know how to put it on a tripod or anything else for that matter. So I got to get students to realize that, when you do product photography, you put it on a tripod and then you can take better shots. Okay, so this first assignment might be just a gateway drug for teenagers, and if you might not want to watch it as an adult, but you can still have fun with us if you want. Okay, so first, safety though, right? Safety. Some of the things that I have to cover right now is, well, what if I gave this to a teenager? What are the things that the teenagers struggle with the most, and how do you conquer that without wrecking it? Okay, so let's begin with safety using a Nikon camera, and some of the questions I always get from hundreds of students every year, and they might relate to the student that is on the internet too. Who knows? Okay, so the first thing usually students struggle with, you'd be surprised, is this. Okay, they struggle with that a lot. The SD card. This is what gets them every time. So let's cover that. So just know things that like I'm doing right now. So there is a lip on this thing, so I can put it like this, right, and it does not hurt the camera. There's a pretty big lip, especially on this lens, and I chose this lens for training because it has this really deep lip. Okay. All right, so don't do this usually unless there is a deep lip, and it definitely does not touch the lens. The lens is not convexed out enough. That means domed out enough to touch the table. Sweet. Okay, the second thing that students struggle with the most is battery, right? Where is it, and why isn't it charged? So you always have to be a better human when you use a camera, especially with other humans, and you have to charge your battery. So the batteries look like this for the Nikon camera. This is a Nikon 7200. I'm going to be showing you the 7200 and the 7500. Do I recommend these cameras for consumers? Yes, actually I do. These are the same things I use with students all the time. They don't destroy them. They're relatively good. They are. So if you were to get a camera, I would highly recommend this as a starter camera. Certainly if you were really rolling in the bank though, you'd get a Sony AR7 IV. It's not consumer friendly, but it does grow with you a lot more. Okay, so battery. Okay, notice the little door's off. Little door comes missing with teens. Okay, so that door will fall off every time if you're not careful with the camera. And does it hurt it? Yes, I don't like it without the door, but again, working with teenagers, I know that they're going to lose that door. That's how you put the camera battery in, and how you take it out, just like that. Boom, boom. Okay, about that SD card. So now that we have power, we can go over here and see the on-off button. Turn it on. Cool. This opens. Allows you to put the SD card in. Okay. And by hitting LV, it'll turn the menu on. So now if you click menu, now let's go over that again. I can turn it on. Can I get in the menu without turning the LV on? Yes, you can. You can do it both ways. I just like showing that LV button right off the bat. All right, so over here, we're going to, you can see that I have the ability to page up and down using this little joystick. Okay, and the first thing you got to know is how to format the card. Okay, so if you go down to the wrench, you go over and hit format memory card, and it's in slot 1. Do I really want to do it? Heck yeah. There we go. So at the top now, you can see I could take a 1.8K pictures with this SD card alone with the current settings. Which leads me to the next thing. Students will grab this camera and play with the buttons, which I totally agree with. I like that. So the one thing that you should know as a person that's using this camera for the next time is that there are these little green dots. So one green dot is located here. Okay. And usually there's another green dot right here. Now on the other models, they might be in different places. But what these do is reset this back to grandma mode. Okay. So I'm going to do that with you. I'm going to first get into menu, then press the two buttons together. Reason I did that is because it will eventually flash. Okay. And it might happen over here at the top. So let's look at this one. So I'm pressing this one and this one at the same time. And there it is. Okay. So if you missed that, it was because of the frames per second. It might not have captured it, but it blinked this screen. Okay, sending it back to childhood. All right. Next thing we want to do is go and choose the right quality. So if you choose, see this quality button, QUAL. Okay, if I hold that in and then let's get it out of let's go into manual mode. So it might do this a little bit better. Quality. Oh, gotcha. This one's got this one on it. So the 7500 and the, I think 7000 have the wheel mouse, so it just changes it on the top. But this one, it is only in the image editor. So if you do the quality, so what I want to do is rotate it until it gets to fine. Okay. Later on, I'll show you what RAW is. RAW is really good for students that are a little bit less new and they can start using software. If right now I would stay just into the camera and trying to get a good shot using the camera rather than try to take a picture and try to fix it. Okay, so that's quality, and you want that on fine. All right, so this right here, if you go to the auto shot, this is really good for new students that are just kind of like shooting pictures of everything. Okay, it's a good gateway drug. We're going to, for this first assignment, we're going to go into manual mode though. But if you want to explore the camera a little bit and use auto mode, you know, take some shots of, you know, things in the classroom, go ahead. LV is kind of like your cell phone mode. Okay, so if I go like this, you can see I can see what's going on inside the viewport. Okay. You're used to that. Over here on the side, I have manual, and autofocus, both on the body and the lens. So here's how this works. Let's say you're really new and you want to do autofocus. Okay, autofocus, AF. With these two on, it will focus. Okay, and when it's at a certain, let's say, distance from the screen, right now this lens is too close. Okay, way too close. But if I was to back it up some, because this lens is right now 18 to 200 millimeters. Okay, so if I have a distance away from an object and I click this button, it always rests into an area. But if it's too close, it's either red, red's bad. Okay, so far enough away, it focuses it right about there. Nope, further, right there. But if it's too close and I try to focus it, it's going to go into the red and say, no, you can't focus that. It's too close to the lens. All right, let's explore a couple other things. All right, so you're going to be asked to put this on a tripod. So I brought a tripod top out just for demonstration. Okay, all the tripods in the lab function the same way. They are Manfrotto, by far one of the better tripod tops in my humble opinion. So when you go to use this, they have this little key feature. It's called the safety mechanism. Okay, so the safety mechanism makes it so I can't take it off the tripod. Now, I've seen in the past students get totally frustrated with this and unscrew the tripod top, okay, this thing, and bring it to me, thinking that's how it came off the tripod, okay, because of this one little thing. So I want to point that out. You just flick it down, and now you can go like that, and this little tripod top comes off. Okay, this little tripod top actually goes onto the bottom of the camera in a very unique direction. So you see the arrow, it says point it at the lens. So what you do is put it, there's a little set screw right here, you put it in the set screw and you rotate it. And you can get it started like that, but then go like that. Now you don't need a Hulk tightness, just tighten it enough. Okay, like that is perfect. So I can't go like this, it won't wiggle back and forth. So now, if I was to go to put this on a tripod, the handle would be out like that, and I go like this, and then it engages onto the tripod, and then you notice that the safety mechanism doesn't go automatically up. That's you. I would put this up just for other people, okay? Especially if you're going to rotate it on its side. Okay, so boom, boom. So let's talk about rotation for a second. Just by rotating this, you can now put this in portrait mode or landscape mode. Boom, boom, just like that. How do you take it off the tripod? Safety, click this back. Always, always, always put your hand on the camera before you initiate this latch. Can you leave the thing on the bottom? Yes, please leave the thing on the bottom, okay? Leave this on the camera. Odds are it will never get lost if it's on the camera. There's probably no reason to actually take it off, to be honest with you. Not in the lab setting. So that's how to put the tripod top on, how to initialize it inside the tripod top mechanism, okay? And then how to, like, let's say, loosen this and go into portrait or landscape mode. And if you ever want the Manfrotto, this is the Manfrotto series. They got one a little bit better than this one, and it rotates back and forth too. So this one's good for beginners if you want the lower cost one. But I would say you want the one that rotates also, because you want to be able to grow into your equipment. So it's better to spend a little bit more money on that feature that goes back and forth, because you're going to be using it a lot. All right, so now I want to cover lens, okay? So I put lenses on at first for students because they don't know what lens to choose from. So I'm going to just kind of give you a 101 introduction to lenses, and we'll get more into technical things later, okay? There are numbers on this lens. Let me zoom in on this. So this one's got an 18 to 200 millimeter, and then a 1.3 to 5.6 in the realm of aperture. Okay, so this is your focal length, and this is your aperture. Okay, so the first number, think about that as the focal length of minimal distance. So 18 millimeters away, it's not 18 millimeters, okay? Even though it says millimeters on it, anybody that's used a camera long enough will know that this is not, it's the focal length, it's the bare minimum focal length, but it's quite a bit more than that. So you could say that that's 18 millimeters, but if you go to like measure that out, like do some scientific research and say, you know, like let's put a dot right here at 18 millimeters and then click on that to see if it focuses on it, it will fail every time. So, sorry. But it does mean that this camera can get close to an object and focus on it, okay, this lens. And this can also take some shots that are very far away. Okay, so that's why I like this lens, because there's such a difference between these numbers that it allows you to do a great deal of things. Okay, now the other two numbers is how light is interpreted inside the camera lens. So what you want here is a great deal of distance between these numbers also. So this lens kind of struggles with light. It's good for everything else though. It doesn't struggle with the distance of it, and it does not struggle with the depth of field of it. So having these, you'll get some more type of depth of field shots where there's like a blurred background, and there's in the foreground it's very sharp. And if you have the distance between these numbers, you can do a great deal of things like take night shots, or take shots with lots of motion in them, okay, where this lens struggles at that. Cool. So I have another lens. Okay. Here's another lens. So this one, 16 to 85 millimeters. Okay. The distance between it is not as great. So the higher the distance between these two numbers, the more expensive the lens is. Let's look at the aperture. Well, this one goes from like 1.35 to 5.6. Okay, the same as the other lens. So this lens is probably at a consumer level, $200 ish for this lens. Where this lens costs $800-ish, if not more nowadays. So that's the difference between the lenses. All right, just to show how to change a lens so that you know how to change a lens, there is a button right here. Okay. Yeah, press that in and you rotate just like that. So counterclockwise. Okay. Then you can take it off. Okay, important to know, don't let dust get in here. Okay, that's a 101 thing that you should know. And if there is dust in here, you let an instructor or a pro know, and they can clean that out for you. We don't leave lenses off as much because dust will build up in here. Okay, so you usually put a cap on. Ask where a cap is. So to put a lens back on, you line up the two white dots and you rotate clockwise without the button. Again, generally for the first couple assignments, I'm picking out the lens for you until we get used to the fact that you're running a camera. And then as we go on, we'll use different lenses. Okay, so now let's talk about one more thing here. All right, last but not least is I always see students just give up when it comes down to, let's say they aren't, I show a camera in this video, right? But we have three variations of cameras in the lab. There's a 7100, a 7200, and a 7500. Okay, that's okay. Once you learn Nikon, actually once you learn a camera, okay, it doesn't matter what camera you use. I always say that. So as long as you know what aperture, shutter speed, and ISO, just kind of give you the first three. Once you know how or what those are and what they do, it's just a matter of changing them on a camera. And that is a little different. But if you're all using the same camera, what happens is usually I see a student, they'll try to make a change, like let's say for example the one I showed you, image quality, right? So they'll come up to a different camera and they'll turn it on and they hit the image quality button and rotate it and nothing happens. Okay, nothing happens. Okay, the first thing they go, hey, nothing's happened. So they grabbed a camera with a low battery. All right, odds are it's not going to do anything for you. Okay, some you have to have the live view on in order to change it. Some you can see it in here. So the batteries do interchange between the three. So I could put battery from the one. In this case, this one has a door. The battery looks a little different, right? Just a little bit different, but they're actually the same battery. Cool, got a full charge. Now what? So if I hit the image quality button on this camera, is it here? Look at that, changes here instead of in the viewport like I showed you on the other camera. But it does change, okay? And it's the same mechanism. It's the quality button and rotating it on the back that changes it. So don't give up if the camera I show in the video doesn't function the exact same way. It's near that way. Cool. All right, so that is camera. I would say camera 101. I don't want to overburden you with too much information and ruin the experience for you. So now let's get into an assignment that allows just a few changes with good results. That's kind of fun for students. All right.